What a lovely day, everybody. Welcome to Movie.Cast, the podcast where we talk all about films. Did you like my opening
I got
line
it.
there?
Yeah, I got it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicholas.
Mike with you, along with Costa, Amber. Thank
Hello.
you guys for joining once
What's up,
again.
everybody?
So welcome to episode 2 of Movie.Cast. We all saw Mad Max, the next big blockbuster film. Although it was beat out by Pitch Perfect 2 in its opening weekend at the box office.
There was no doubt that was going to happen. I mean, Pitch Perfect 2 just it speaks to a much wider or larger demographic. I mean, when we went to go see Mad Max, I remember when I was standing in the front lobby of the theater, there was a group. It was like 5 moms and like 14 or 6 girls just came pouring through. I'm like, I wonder what movie they're here to see. I was like, they're here to see Mad Max, right? Or something else.
Yeah, exactly. My girlfriend was excited to see Pitch Perfect 2. I don't think she's seen it yet, but she is excited to see it.
My sister's going to go see that, I think, tonight. So,
I haven't seen any of them.
I haven't seen the first one.
I mean,
It just
I
looks
have
like
no
a
interest.
rip-off
It's
of,
about
it's
acapella, so...
jumping on
My
the
knowledge
beat.
of Pitch
Like
Perfect is what through CinemaSins, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, we watched the
So-
video, the Everything Wrong with video, so... But anyway, so we are going to do our official review of Mad Max. So why don't we kick this off? So we are going to start off with spoiler-free reviews. So for a few minutes anyway, we'll be able to talk and you can watch if you haven't seen it yet. And then after we are done with the spoiler-free, you're going to hear our friend Mr. Wilhelm. And when you hear that sound, it'll also show up on the screen. That means we have entered spoiler territory. And from that point on, continue watching at your own risk. So, let's get into Mad Max. And Costa, I know you are very excited. He had all these notes prepared. He was excited. He told me I had all these notes.
I left them at home.
And he did, but I have a feeling that you will bring us some good debate. So let's start off with you. What did you think of Mad Max? Tell everybody what you thought, the good sides, the downsides, and then tell them if you would recommend to go see it or not. Take it away.
Mad Max was just pure eye candy. I don't think I can phrase it any other way. The production value for Mad Max, I mean, the practical effects, the cinematography, just all of that, just the whole package was just utterly fantastic. It was that high octane thrill ride all the way through. I mean, it's a near 2-hour chase sequence,
pretty much,
and everything you see. The people actually did it. Every single car explosion, every single, crazy person jumping off and doing some sort of kamikaze attack.
I made a joke with my friend. It would be the sort of movie that Michael Bay would go and watch, and then he'd be like, "That's such a waste of money. They could have done this on a computer." But anyway, go ahead, continue.
But that's what made it the best part of it.
Well, right. But that's my
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
You're right.
yeah.
And what I like about it also is that this movie doesn't hide or doesn't try to shy away from what it is, and nor does it try to be anything else of what it is. It is just this crazy action movie. It doesn't bog itself down with any fluff or anything like that. I love the fact that this movie really subverts the viewer's expectations. There isn't any, for once, between main characters. There's no forced romances. I'm looking at you, Marvel, and Peter Jackson for
for the Hobbit.
Hobbit, exactly.
And I guess you could also argue for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, you had a lot of female characters in this movie. You kind of had some hints at Rome, but it was really nothing
right.
at the end of the day.
It wasn't.
It wasn't anything major. It wasn't this huge plot device by any means.
No,
and so
it was more of companionship,
exactly,
more than anything.
Yes.
Yes. Right. Yeah. So it was just they weren't going to get together, but they had. But they were basically,
and it wasn't even between Mad Max and Furiosa.
Right.
It was between two support characters.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
And so they kept all the focus on the action. They kept the the intensity was constantly cranked up to 11 the whole movie. I mean, at the end of the day, go to this this is a theater experience. This is not a movie I recommend waiting for you to come on Netflix or Blu-ray or whatever. See it while it's in theaters. Get the biggest bucket of popcorn you can get and just sit there and shut your brain off and enjoy the ride.
Okay, well, Costa says to go see it. Amber, let's get your opinion.
Well, I should put that the only other Mad Max movie that I've seen is the third one, Beyond Thunderdome, with Tina Turner and Mel Gibson. So, and it's been a while that I can't even really remember all that much about that, but there was a Thunderdome.
Yeah.
And Tina Turner.
There was a Thunderdome.
There was a
Mad
Dome
Max
of Thunder.
And like he fought like the guy. But anyway, so I had seen the trailer. And I was like, all right, whatever. Like, I know some people are like, oh my God, this looks amazing. And I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't go in with high expectations or low expectations. I just went in with, all right, I'm just gonna watch this and I'm gonna see how this goes. And I was pleasantly surprised that I was just like, I know it's gonna be like an action movie where it's just like, just don't think, just go. And I did like it. I do agree with Costa that it is one that you'd want to see on the big screen, and I mean it'll look awesome on Blu-ray too on a big screen. But it is. It's an interesting action movie because I've seen I mean I get my fair share of action movies when they're actually good. But this one was it was simple. It's just like we're going to point A, point B, and we'll go back to point A. But in between, it's just simple, and there wasn't a lot of dialogue.
Right.
But they gave you what was basically the plot. What's their action? You see that, and then in between you have fire and like a firestorm, tornado, wind thing,
which was the only CG pretty much.
Yeah,
the
whole
only
movie. Real CG thing. I mean, there was a few things, but most of all, I loved. I loved that it was practical. I loved every single minute of that. I was like, it would have brought me out, and just doing that, it was amazing. I would just be like, how did nobody die? Did anybody die? I'm gonna have to look this up. Did somebody die? Because I feel like so many people could have just gotten run over, would have exploded, would have lost a hand.
Yikes.
Charlize Theron didn't have an arm.
Yep.
History, we don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I like Tom Hardy as Mad Max. I don't really can't compare him to Mel Gibson because I haven't really seen the other one, so it would be kind of bad. But I like that he was quiet.
Yeah.
He did what he had to do. He had some really good action scenes.
He had his makeshift Bane mask.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I thought that exact same thing. I was like, he's Bane again.
The fight scene between him and Theron that was pretty cool. It was a pretty good scene. And then I mean, I don't know. I was just impressed with all the action. I mean, I really liked where they're going, their main truck, tank, whatever the heck that they're driving.
I think they call it the rig.
The rig.
Yeah.
And they got the guys on the bikes, and they're jumping over them, throwing things. And I was like, oh my God, is this real? This is real, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was this is amazing. This was awesome. So I would say go see it. And I had no expectations, and I was like, this is pretty awesome.
Okay, so you two both say to go see it. Now, this is going to sound almost like a repeat of last week. I was not as favorable to this movie as you guys were. I will not disagree that the production values were very high.
It was beautifully shot.
Yes, the cinematography was
fantastic. And the editing. That's one thing. I don't mean to cut you off. That's one thing I failed to mention. Well, you think with all the chaos happening on the screen, there have been a couple of moments where you may have been lost, like what the heck's going on? But that didn't happen. Not a single moment during.
That's
the
true.
movie.
I'll give you that. I didn't even think about that, but you're right. Yeah, you could pretty much follow the action, which is
especially with a lot of things. You have 20 different types of vehicles and people throwing things.
And especially in nowadays how they film action scenes, they cut away so often and so quickly. I think the average shot lasts about maybe 2 seconds.
And they had a few long shots, long shot of all this, or them going over the camera.
So in terms of production value, I'll give it the highest credit possible. It had a good atmosphere. It was the action was entertaining. I'll give you that as well. The fight scenes were enjoyable, and watching some of the stunts were fun. However, for me, it got really old after the first half hour. Because they set up the story well. I really will give them that. And that's what kept me interested for the first half hour, was that they set it up and they did it in a way where they didn't have to explain everything because they could visually show it.
Yes.
even though there were some aspects of the village or the citadel that they were living in, even though still some aspects to me were just like I still don't really understand what was going on there a whole lot. But basically, after that first half hour, the story got formulaic and predictable for me.
But where
predictable to the point where I was pointing out, like in my head, I was thinking, of this plot point, and then that plot point proved to be true.
But
and
for me,
I was disappointed by
where exactly? Because I thought the movie went by really fast. I didn't.
It did go by fast, but I think once they go through the storm, really, and then from that point on, you just kind of get the plot points just kind of become, I've seen this before, or like I said, it was just predictable. For me, I guess it's kind of that sort of movie that you have to be willing to, I guess, either shut your brain off, or you have to be willing to accept the type of movie that it is. It's not a particular subject matter that I care about, to be honest. It never had the characters that really pulled me in and made me think like, oh, I really care about these characters. For example, our main character, Tom Hardy, played by Tom Hardy, Max, he doesn't even say a word for 40 minutes, and nor does he do anything for 40 minutes. He is, and that's not too spoilery. I'm just saying that
it's a very,
to me, Tom Hardy,
dialogue-less movie.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And for me, but Max was such a bland hero for me, because I just felt like you could put Joe Schmo actor number 3 in there, and he could have done just as good of a job as Tom Hardy. Like, you could have thrown in basically any B-list actor in there, and they could have done an okay job as Hardy, because Hardy wasn't asked to do anything that didn't advance the plot. It was supposed to be a mindless thrill ride, that sort of thing, where it's supposed to keep you engaged and entertained. But for me, it was almost like the same problem. This is going to be a very weird comparison, but almost the same problem with Ender's Game that I had with Ender's Game. Ender's Game, let me explain. Ender's Game to me felt like, take the training sequence in the Hunger Games, that sequence that lasts about 10 minutes, and expand it out to 2 hours. That's what Ender's Game felt like, and it was fatiguing. And that's what I eventually felt like when watching this movie. And I was trying to go in being as optimistic as possible. I had never seen any of the previous Mad Maxes. I had, no knowledge of any of the subject matter. So I was trying to go in optimistically, and I could stay optimistic for about the first half hour, and like I said, but then the story started getting formulaic. And then the fact that it was just an hour and a half, 2 hour long, just car chase. Car chases are awesome. Car chase scenes are amazing, but stretched out for 2 hours, I got bored. I got bored, and like, especially by the time we had reached the finale, or like the climactic battle or whatever, by that point I was just like, well, what haven't we seen? So whether or not people should go see it, if you're like me and haven't seen any of the previous Mad Max and don't know anything of the subject matter, I for one thought it was only a video game when I first heard it. That's how little I knew of the movies.
There probably is a video game out there.
I think there is,
yeah.
But my point is that I think if you haven't seen the subject material, you really have to be interested in the subject matter. So if you're like me and you don't care for this sort of film, I don't know. It's a very specific. So I wouldn't be like, if you really don't have anything to do and you just want to shut your mind off for a movie, sure, it's fine, go see it. But to me, it's skippable. To me, my life is no different if I hadn't seen it.
I mean, if you think about it, if you think about what's on what will be out this summer, there's going to be more CGI in that.
I agree. The CGI is what I will agree with that argument. Whether or not I'm going to enjoy those films more, though, is the question, because, like I said, I didn't enjoy.
And that's true.
Mad
Yeah, there
Max
might be
as
something
much,
else that'll come out and surprise us.
And now, let's have Mr. Wilhelm do our thing. So let's really dig in and start nitpicking.
Okay.
Because I want to nitpick.
Okay.
Because I want to nitpick. So like I said, I didn't enjoy the movie's plot because I mentioned it got formulaic in some points.
Yeah.
Like I hate movies that do the setup of the character says goodbye to his loved one right before he sacrifices himself. Mm-hmm. Immediate spoilers. So
kind of.
So yeah, sort of. But the war, for example, for all the crap I gave this movie about not having decent characterization, the War Boy was the one character. what was his name?
Nux.
Was the one character that I actually did enjoy watching his story.
Well, he
just
developed
because,
the most.
Right,
out of
that's what I'm
everybody.
saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. If
Yeah.
any other character had any other sort of growth or development like he did, I may have enjoyed this movie more. But that was all I got.
Well,
and not only that, he was kept alive by the stupidest plot convenience ever of, oh no, don't kill him. He's at the half of his life already. I'm like, no, he just tried to kill you. What about the other people who jumped onto the car and tried to kill you? You didn't care about them dying, but you want to keep him alive and
well,
just
he's
toss him
kind
off
of
the
like a
street?
bumbling idiot.
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
he's
but you still
not
you're
really
tossing,
that
You're
threatening.
tossing a guy to the side of the street while a whole caravan of people are coming after
He's-
you.
well,
Really?
Well, he originally wasn't supposed to be going with him, if you remember. Like, he kind of just was,
Yeah,
like,
because
begging
like
to
Well,
he was
on the
he-
mission.
Like
Yeah.
his character initially is very misguided, and what I liked though about him, about his character's character's arc, was that in the end he still kind of achieved what it was he wanted to do. His goal was that he wanted to leave some sort of legacy. Like he wanted to go
Right.
down as being a legend. You know, obviously initially for him, he figured he'd gain his legacy by, you know,
Getting Furiosa.
getting Furiosa, and like even if it meant dying out on the Fury Road, like that was his thing. Then eventually it became, you know, let me help save the wives or whatever. I think that's what they were called, the wives.
Yeah,
or the
his wives.
Wives.
Yeah.
You know, let me help Furiosa. Let me save the wives. And you know, and they even mentioned like Valhalla. So this is like some kind of like weird like warped Viking cultures. Like I want to go on in Valhalla and
I mean, it
I live, I
was-
die, I live again.
Yeah, it was. I hate to say it, but it was very like terroristic type way. If you know, it's just like
Yeah.
I got to do all
Oh,
this
yeah,
stuff,
so that
and then if I do it, then I'm gonna go. And I was just like, okay, I see where they're trying to go with the whole thing, and it's like, well, the guy who's brainwashing everybody is like, well, you got to do this, and if you die on your way, like you know, basically, if you kill yourself along with them, you know, in a heroic way, it's awesome.
right.
And see, and the funny thing is with Immortan Joe,
You mean Darth Vader wannabe?
Darth
Vader /
wannabe.
Bane.
Darth Vader
Yeah.
yeah, he I felt like his character, like the type of like villain or character he was, fit really, really well with the constructed world. And here's why. Because his just how grotesque and deranged he was, it just fit. I mean, because that's what this world is.
But that's what this
And-
whole movie is, though.
right. But he's like at the epitome.
He's pretty disgusting.
Look at everything he is doing to kind of like preserve his bloodline. He had his own like milking station. He had all these poor women with God knows how many tubes like attached to their breasts and stuff, and just pumping
Feed the
milk
babies.
to feed the babies. And also, like, he didn't have, like, beloved followers. He just controlled them because he had all the water.
That's the big thing. He
Yeah.
has the resource for all the water.
Exactly. Like, he, not only is he, like, he has essentially made himself life. Like, he is, like, the source
He's
of
a
life.
warlord. That's what he
Exactly.
is. He's a warlord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just, like, you know, and just having his like, fleet of war boys and everything, it just...
I guess to me, he felt more like the one of those villains in Chappie, where he was just flat out evil just because the script says he's evil, you know,
Well,
and
I
because the
mean-
script points to this is going to be our villain, so therefore we're just going to make him a villain.
Well,
I don't know, like that's one factors into like where the war boy was the only one who had a real like defined character or character development.
Well-
Is that, you know, this villain? Yes, he's gross. All you said about the bloodline, but we don't really get anything from him except
well, the
just
thing is, like,
grunts for most
do you
of the
really
time.
want to get like?
Right, I think-
it's like I
I'd
got
wanna
it. I mean, I got enough
I'd
from
want to
him.
understand what I'd want to understand his background a little bit.
I
because-
feel like I don't.
No,
like,
but I'll say,
that
I think with him, it's just very clear. He's obviously, if you look, I mean, because if you look at his setup, everything he has at what was they called, the Citadel? Is that what the
Yes,
what
the
it's called,
Citadel.
You know, obviously he has been in that position for a while,
Mm.
like with everything he has.
But how did he get there?
The operation?
It doesn't.
Why-
it-
why-
it's
but it
just
does
it's
matter.
But
not really,
obviously,
I mean,
obviously,
it's
you can
just a
narrow it down to a
society
couple of things. He ended up being the one that, you know, obviously he's a big guy, like Immortan Joe. Like even though he's older, you can tell he was maybe in his prime at one point. This very intimidating man.
He's still intimidating.
He's still
I mean, if you look at him, he's scary
Yeah.
looking.
Yeah,
he is.
exactly.
It's terrifying.
And so you gotta figure someone in his position, younger, and he's able to basically bully his way into owning that plot or whatever with all that water, you know. And at that point, if no one can challenge him, because like I said, in this world, it's all about survival of the fittest or whatever. And
he was able to survive.
Right, he was able to survive and claim that spot. So I think that's a fair assumption.
One of the things that really bugged me about the movie was almost kind of like how I attack Marvel films is the characters didn't die until it was really significant for the script. And let me explain.
Okay.
For example, there is no way that Max on the front of that vehicle being strapped to a blood bag to the war boy, to Nux, there is no way they go into that tornado infested area. Their car gets hit with a bomb, it explodes, it tumbles, and then they're stuck in that tornado. There is no way neither of them survive that. No way.
Again,
not a single way
this
that
is a
any of them
sci-fi
survive
movie
But-
called Mad Max,
that.
so he
But I'm
can't
saying
just
that,
die.
But that wasn't the only time they did it. Like
know.
when what was her name? One of the wives.
I can't remember.
The one played by the former Victoria's Secret
the
model.
pregnant one.
Yes,
Yeah.
the
Okay.
pregnant one. Yes, when she slips off the rig and goes under Joe's wheels,
Mm-hmm.
the car. She goes under the wheels, and then the car flips and crashes.
Yeah.
Joe comes out without a single scratch on him. She's still alive, which is BS.
Well, barely.
Yeah, but it's still she's alive.
Yeah.
And then the baby is still alive.
No, the baby's dead.
No, it wasn't. Remember, they said there was still a heartbeat. Remember that explained the later scene.
Well, he just said it was very faint. Like,
Yeah,
like,
but
like,
it was
either way,
there.
But just
But
seemed
it was
like,
there.
But you got to figure in this world, like they probably they wouldn't have had the resources to save the baby anyway.
Well, and I understand that. That I'm not questioning. I'm questioning the fact this rig is going. I don't know how many miles do you bet that rig was going at per hour?
I mean, I agree
Well,
with
if
you.
it's
I mean,
going-
I
if
agree
it's
that they
going 60
elongated-
miles per hour or more, and she falls like that and goes under the wheel. She is dead immediately. The baby is dead immediately. Immortal Joe or whatever his name
here's
was,
the thing,
Joe.
here's
You
the
can
thing.
kind of argue whether or not he
keep
survived
in
because
mind,
he
I
had
don't.
gear and
I don't
stuff.
even think she actually went. Because you really don't get a good look
Yeah,
at
I
her
didn't
going under
see
the
her.
wheel.
Oh,
She does.
you only get
no,
Max's-
Because you
She
only get
does.
Max's.
I
No,
saw
she
it.
doesn't. Because I think she honestly didn't.
The car flipped.
but didn't hit her. The car.
Yes,
no.
it did.
Because the only person who claims to have seen it was Max. But the way
But
he
you
was
can
saying
see,
it.
but you can see it when you watch it, though. I saw it.
I don't remember.
because
I mean,
saw it.
I mean, again, it happened really fast. You just
It
know
does
she
happen
fell.
quick, but I was-
and
I
I mean,
was
when she
watching-
fell, I was
because
like,
here's the
okay,
thing.
she's probably dead.
Here's the thing.
She was dead.
But here's the thing though.
But I do agree with you, like
Because
the way
Max-
he
the
said
way
it.
he said it, because he's like, because he did not want. He knew the safe
not
thing
gonna
to
go
do.
back.
The safe thing to do was not to turn around to
Well,
keep going.
yeah,
If
I
that any
understand
success.
that.
So I think it's fair to say that they are leaving it up to, us to decide, was he telling the truth?
Or did she just fall?
Or did she just fall?
I
honestly,
don't know. I think
they
that's
could've
very
just,
loose.
I mean, I agree with you. Like the way he said, he's like, she went under the wheel. They're like, but we gotta stop her. Like, she went under the
They
wheel.
even asked him, like,
you know?
are you sure? Are you positive? Like,
She
why?
went under
the way
the
the way
wheel,
they
yeah.
framed that, the way they framed
It
that
might
with the
have
I
just
question-
been acting, but yeah.
I still
But
think
no,
that's too
I
loose.
do agree with you. I feel like it was just like, well, she's dead, and
Right.
and they probably should have just left it where. She's dead, and then instead of him, like, I think he comes out and is like carrying her, and I'm like, well, she's not bloody at all.
Right.
She just looks like she just like had a
That's
roll in the
right.
in the desert. But with that, I think they should have changed that. She's just dead, and then he just comes out angry.
Right.
You
and,
know,
and
maybe-
that
and
would've
maybe
been
a little
fun. That
hurt,
I don't like. I don't like it when a movie is just too over the top, and I thought eventually it got to that point where it was getting too over the top. Then he was having a fight with the guitarist guy who was strapped to the
wait,
vehicle.
that was like my
That
favorite
was-
part.
that
was
Okay,
annoying
Yes.
me. No,
I
that
love.
was annoying.
No,
What
that
a
was
How
useless
epic.
waste of space are you?
How epic.
What a useless useless waste
and
of
that
space.
and that right there,
Yes.
I think is
This is
like
why we like the movie.
yes,
That was like
yes.
my favorite part.
That was by far like the one of the defining characteristics of this world.
That
This
is-
guy,
that they do useless things?
They
this
had their own car for their own
music,
soundtrack.
yes,
This is useless.
And you know what the crazy
No.
thing is though? It was all actually played live in the movie.
Okay,
Yes,
cool,
yes,
awesome.
Yes,
It was
that,
still
that
useless.
Makes, that makes it even
No,
more
it wasn't.
awesome.
It was
That makes it even
No,
more.
it
So,
was
so,
useless.
so
That guy,
the,
that
the drums,
warlord
the
is
guitar,
so powerful that he has, when he goes out, he has
reminds-
his own
he
car.
Yes.
He reminds me of like in the old time war. There was like the one drummer boy who.
But
like,
this
just
is
that's
even
what
more
they
epic than
basically
that. This
are.
was
But
like
that's
that.
what- But I'm saying that's a
This
useless
was-
war tactic.
No.
No.
Yes.
Like this is to get them all pumped up.
No,
And by the
because-
way,
Yes,
no,
it
because
is.
you're
that-
one, you're giving away your position whenever you're trying to.
He doesn't give a shit. He
But that's
doesn't
what I'm saying.
care.
But that's stupid. Why would you give the people you're trying to hunt down a warning that you're coming?
But they already
That
knew
makes
that,
no
they
sense.
already knew
Coming,
that they were going to come
exactly.
because when
But-
she went off the road, she knew that they were going to come for her.
Exactly.
Right, but I'm
Listen.
saying like every single time they started back up on the road, it's like, okay, gotta fire up the music again.
Nobody's
Like-
really going to mess
It's
with
just
them.
like-
They have
and
like a
then,
big thing.
Yeah, and the crazy thing too is
No.
that war boy, that
It's a
was like
waste.
I can't remember the guitarist's name, but he's an actual obviously professional guitarist. He was legitimately blindfolded playing the guitar. Like again, that
Well,
whole
if you look at him when they took the mask off, his character was blind. He didn't
Yeah.
have any eyes, and
Yeah.
and he had like the crazy. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah,
And
so
he was on the
it's
bungee cord.
again.
I-
Just another
And then he fought him.
But
listen,
again, I guess that's-
despite this not being your type of movie,
I
But I
love
think
that part.
you
That was
can't
my
help
favorite.
but just realize how insanely awesome it is that whole thing was real. They didn't just layer the music in and post. That was legitimately happening as they were recording.
It was
Okay,
awesome.
fantastic.
I-
It
and
was
I-
still the
even-
most useless
but
waste of
But you
space.
notice though, they still attacked like because there's a scene like near the end where.
But it was by coincidence that he
But-
fell into
but
that
still,
vehicle.
because you're like.
But that was by
but
total
they
coincidence.
They stopped, and then he's like trying to fight them off because you figure, okay, they're just the band. They
But
don't
then-
mess
but
with
then
it.
there was
and
another-
then they started fighting. And
But then
like,
there was
the-
another
the
problem
going
with
back
that. There
and
was
forth.
like a good few minutes where Tom Hardy just stood on that vehicle doing nothing. There was like a good few minutes, and it was.
I think
but
he
I
was
remember.
looking to see where everybody was at.
But nobody was attacking him. There were people just standing there, just watching him. He was just standing there. I'm like, no. I specifically know because that memory was burned in my mind. I'm like, how is he just standing here? Like he was on the side where the rocker was on the other side, so the guitarist couldn't see him or anything.
because he's blind.
Yeah, but there were other people on the vehicle, and they weren't attacking him. And there were other people
mean
on
the
other
people
vehicles
on the
that
back?
could clearly see what was
You
happening.
mean the
yes.
drummers on the back?
Yes, they were just
The
sitting there.
drummers- The drummers
And
on the back.
It wasn't
supposed to sit
until
there.
Tom Hardy just sort of sat there and then figured out what to do, and then they started attacking him. I was like, what? Why are you? What? This makes
Maybe
no
they're
sense.
blind too. I don't know.
I don't know. Again, that
No, because then they started coming after him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But it didn't happen until Tom Hardy decided, oh, I know what to do now. Oh, hey, now they're coming. Now let me go. Exactly.
I don't know.
can't-
Again,
just thought it was
I
kind of a
have-
fun sequence.
again,
I thought
I-
it was a fun sequence.
Exactly,
But I
yeah.
love that he fell on there and then he was like bungee jumping with not only the guitarist, but I think that other guy, that big guy, like jumped on.
Yeah,
And
there
then
was somebody else fighting
and you
him.
see
yeah.
it in the background because then I think that was when Furiosa or one of the the wives might have been fighting another guy,
Mm-hmm.
and you see them in the background, like the front was them, and then the background was like Tom Hardy and the guitarist, and they're like he's like pointing them all around, and it was
Yes.
I love that part. I love the
that
blind
that part
guitarist.
drove me nuts.
I think he had his own like
that part
moving band.
absolutely drove me nuts.
it was great.
I
it
wanted
was-
to pull my hair out by
I
the
was
end
like,
of it, just
that's
'cause-
smart. You have your own soundtrack. You're like, this is the set list, and you're gonna play it. And it was like all the amps. It's like that's pretty cool.
See what I like to because I'm into I can get into if a movie again if it's executed well enough then I can really dig into a movie like Mad Max just because of the like I'd like to compare this to for anyone watching that is a gamer and owns like an Xbox One, Sunset Overdrive. That except it's more colorful and whatnot than Mad Max is, but that game is just purely just like really no sense. Like the story isn't all that fantastic, just like with Mad Max, but it's just over the top, crazy fun. Just blow stuff up, jump around, do like stuff that you know doesn't make any sense at all.
It's like kind of like a weird twisted metal.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
But like it's all like the like same type of.
Absolutely.
I guess my problem is though I still need characters. That's the problem.
You
I can
have
have fun watching a
characters.
movie if a movie is made for fun, but they need to have characters that are enjoyable to me. And none of those characters, besides maybe the War Boy, like I said, were enjoyable because Max was not relatable at all. He was bland action hero number one. He was basically Ben Affleck in Argo because Ben Affleck in Argo, like anybody could have played Ben Affleck's role in Argo because he wasn't required to do anything.
Well, he was
And
too
that's
busy
exactly
directing
the same
the
thing
rest of
here.
it.
Hardy wasn't required to do anything. We didn't learn anything about him except a few generic flashbacks about his past, which every action movie loves to do, and I hate it when they do it. Because yes, I understand it's a quick way to deliver information, but it's also cheap, in my opinion.
But I think
it's a cheap way to.
I think.
Well, no, because they kept bringing it back, and at moments that there were no need for a flashback. Like he's reaching out something in the middle, and then he suddenly sees his kid. I'm like, come
No,
on.
I don't think that. Was
I think-
his kid. I think that was
Or
No,
or
no,
whatever.
right,
it was the
'cause-
kid he had failed to save or something.
Because I have a very vague memory of the first Mad Max, and he had a son. He didn't have a daughter.
yeah.
But I think what I like to say, and this is a phrase that's tossed around a lot. A person's true character is shown through their actions, and I think.
But he didn't do anything action-wise that wasn't plot-related.
But let me just say this, because Max obviously. He's been out in this world for a long time. He even obviously he opens up with the narration. He used to be a cop or whatever. He lost his family, and that he says he still looks to try and do good in the world, But at the same time, he realizes that the biggest thing though is we've said this a bunch of times, is survival.
Yep.
And so for him, first things first, he needs to survive. And then, as long as he's able to survive, he can help others. And yeah, he comes across Furiosa, with Nux or whatever, with the wives. And yeah, he gets into a fight because he doesn't know a whole lot about them. But then eventually, you see what he's about though through him joining them and helping them. And then but here's the thing. And then at the very end, and once he has helped them accomplish what they wanted to do, He left. Because see, that wasn't his thing.
By the way, because where's he going? By the way, there's like miles and miles of desert.
Wanders. He
just wanders.
his
How
goal.
is that set up though?
Because
How does anybody?
because
I know he talks about it, but all we know is that he was once a cop and then gets captured by this village, and then that's it.
His thing.
Why do we know that
think,
he's a wanderer?
I think with Max, his whole thing though, his whole thing is if he remains in one place, then he can't go around and help other people in other places. Like he basically saw that what he had done was enough. That now that the Citadel is now being reestablished as this place where they can start to rebuild a community where people can be safe and prosper, and he can move on to the next place. That's really all Max has really been. He's just kind of been a wanderer in this wasteland. Coming across, like I said, goal one. Yeah, right. Goal one, survive. Goal two, help others. And obviously with Furiosa, her character, she obviously wanted no part of Immortan Joe's world. She wanted no role in that. She wanted
to go home, and she wanted to save these women.
Exactly, and that's
I knew the home would be destroyed. By the way, I knew it.
Well,
I called
there
it.
literally was
I
nothing
called
there.
it.
But the thing was, like, she had even.
But that's
like,
what I was
you
saying
get
was
her,
one of those
you get
predictable.
A little bit of her backstory, because she was
Right.
still a mystery. You got
Right.
her backstory where she was kidnapped. Her and her mother were kidnapped or
Right.
whatever from whatever town or society
And her
she was
mother
from.
died.
And her mother died, and then she came here, and she's like, "Let's go to the green place." And they're like, "This is the green." Or no, you passed it.
Well, right,
and
and
you
it was
can
where
see-
those weird
Right,
scarecrows.
the
or whatever
crows,
they
yeah.
were.
And you can see, like, she used her position with in
Well,
Morton
yeah.
Joe's world to her advantage.
Yeah, but that's
which
made obvious.
Well, right, but obviously she was very, very determined. I think that speaks a lot to her character, like about her background. She just as much as Max does she wanted to save these women from the horrible lives they were living, and she wanted to bring them to a place where they can kind of restart that. She wanted to restart her life, and so her, again, the thing this also points to, Max's goals align with whoever it is he's helping,
But what I'm saying is we don't get enough character out of Max to
You get
like
enough.
for me. Not for me.
But the thing
I didn't
is,
have enough.
But the thing though is that this is number 4 of a movie where, and I think they, like I said, this one would be in between 2 and 3. So
Right, but
if
at the
you've seen
same
the other
time,
movies, like the 1 and 2, his backstory, if you haven't seen it, has already kind of been developed.
But at
so
the
by
but at the
this
same
movie, you
time,
kind of already know.
but at the same time, this is coming out decades after those films,
Yeah.
so you have to reestablish.
You know, it's
Would
been like
Mad
30
Max
years.
really have been that much better of a character if they had actually shown flashbacks of him as a cop and him losing his wife
I'm not
and
saying
daughter?
show flashbacks. I'm saying give me something more than, oh, we have to do this now. Let's do this now. Let's do this
But
now.
that's-
Everything
but
he
that's what
said,
this
every
world
line
is.
but every line of dialogue he said was all strictly, let's move the plot forward.
Well, because
That's
you-
exactly
well,
what it was.
And as we said,
because he's the side character.
he's the side. He was literally in the passenger seat for this movie, like this, because this was Furiosa's mission. This was her thing, and as it is with the Max character, he goes along to help whoever he can help. And so, and again, and that also points to why he left. Like, this is not my thing. This is not my mission. Even though him helping her is a part of his greater overall, his own personal.
I kind of
mission.
see this as kind of like a I don't know if I'd say like how we have like legends and things like that.
Exactly,
Like
yeah.
like a Robin Hood or a King Arthur or whatever like that. If you kind of look at it as like if this was written as like a book, and each chapter is a different story or different tale of one of the characters or whatever.
Right.
So I just see it as like, well, the first 2 chapters or the first chapter, of course, is going to tell the origin story of whatever, you know, and then the rest of the chapters are the little, you know, adventures that this character went on. So I just see it as another chapter of Mad Max, just like Beyond Thunderdome's another
I
chapter.
mean,
you
But
don't really get all
but see,
that
the
stuff.
difference is though you've seen the previous Mad Max.
I've only seen one,
Okay,
and
but
I
you've
saw the
seen
third
one of
one,
them.
so I didn't see his.
But
I don't know
you've
his
still
origin.
seen some of it.
But-
I'm saying for people who don't know this movie, you know, or who don't know this source material. I mean, like I said, that's why I'm saying it's a very particular subject matter, and you have to
But
be.
they can always. But
you
the
have to
thing
be
is like,
accepting
it's,
of that subject matter.
Well, I mean, it's
to
a
enjoy it.
dystopian society, and he's a guy that wanders around in a dystopian society, and he just happened to come across this because he was captured. I really don't like if I just saw this as let's pretend like this was the only movie. There weren't any Mad Max movies, which some people might be going into. I kind of
I
like.
think a number of people are going into Mad Max having not seen. any of the
Yeah, I mean,
previous
I
two.
kind of get it. He's kind of crazy. He sees delusions, and that's why he's kind of mad. Plus, you're out in the desert by yourself. I mean, if you saw him in the beginning, he had a beard. He ate a lizard. He was kind of mad anyway.
yeah, but then
so-
he gets captured 10 seconds later.
Yeah, but that's
so
the
we don't
point
get
to
any-
move,
but-
that's the
but
point
we-
to move.
but-
He had to come into this society, and he was trying to run away, and then that's how he meets.
But then he
Furiosa.
gets captured 10 seconds later, but then we don't hear a peep from him for another 40 minutes.
That's fine though. He's not a character that
not
talks
to
a
me
lot.
though. But
mean-
that's what I'm saying.
But it's not.
for
But
me.
the thing is, though, it's not. Like he isn't really. It's not his mission. He falls into it. He was just trying to get away, and he falls into Furiosa's mission. The
Right.
whole thing is you're seeing Furiosa's mission through Mad Max's eyes because he ran into her, and then
Right.
he's just like, "Well, I'll just come along for the ride." And
Right. If he
We're
would have
gonna
felt
go.
like what Furiosa was doing was not
he
good,
probably would have just left. or
would have
he
just
pro-
left, or he would have tried to kill her. I mean,
Okay, but that doesn't make him a good character.
but
That's why I'm saying you could have put any actor in his spot, and it
But
would have been
I don't.
just as
I think
servable of a
again.
role.
I
Well,
think
I don't
him
think it
going
really
along
matters.
and him leaving at the end.
But that's what shouldn't. But that's what's wrong. But who plays a role should matter because they should be bringing that character to life.
Well, if the
this
role mattered, then they
can
would
be-
have gotten Mel
if
Gibson.
but then they should have because Mel Gibson could have pulled off this role because he wasn't asked to do anything.
But
just
there's
like
a
I
reason
said.
why he
I think
do it.
again.
Yeah, I think we all know the
I think
reasons
I think
why.
they
Yogi would
did.
have been perfect because he is Mad.
Right.
Well,
right.
as we all, yeah.
I mean, again, I don't want to run around in circles with this discussion, but at the end of the day, I think they did just enough with Max because again,
I don't agree.
They did just enough to define his character. He is always. Again, he is the wanderer of the wasteland, looking to do whatever little good he can, and he saw the good in helping Furiosa, and like I said, he did what he did, and he left, moving on to the moving on to the next
he's
thing.
Just wandering. I mean, I think because
know?
I mean it shows
That defines
he has
his character.
hallucinations because he's haunted by
Right.
his past. So he's like he knows like if I don't do that, I'm gonna do this because he has a guilty conscience from other people that he's come across that he wasn't able to save. 'Cause
Right,
I don't
I
think
mean-
that girl was his
see,
daughter
that's
or whatever.
What I'm
'cause
saying,
he's
but if you're
just
trying to
that.
frame it that way, though, then you have to give us more.
Like, you give me.
I need him to do things in that are not plot related. In some, it's hard to specify what I wanted out of his character. But I'm saying I wanted more reasons to root for him other than just I'm just a guy stuck in the desert.
Give us like one, if you can think of like some kind of concrete example. If they would have done X or Y in the movie with Mad Max, it would have made it better.
Just anything more than whatever he did was just strictly plot related.
But what's that though? I want like
something that gives me more to him other than just like the only little bit that we had was the cliche of what's your name, and he doesn't say his name until it's significant enough to say his name. Remember at the beginning.
But I think,
that's one. But
that's a part of his savviness, though. I think even though it's cliche,
really.
I know it's a very cliche
it's
thing.
Like it's up there as like one of the top
in
action hero cliches.
But in that sequence though, in like that 10-minute time frame from that moment and when they first hop on the rig, he is showing his. I mean, again, this is also like an overplayed trope sometimes where he knew every little thing. Like he knew where all the guns were and everything like that. It just shows his savviness and how what he's learned from living. He's so used to it, and again, I think that shows.
But that doesn't give me any reason to root for him as a character.
But how about this? Does it give you reason to watch the other movies then?
No, I have no reason to watch the other movies because this did not interest me.
But this, like again, we said those other movies were made 30, 35 years ago. There's a different look to them. I know a lot of people like Thunderdome and everything like that.
As everybody has said, that this film obviously is made by the same person.
Yeah, he
so
made
it's
all
still faithful to the source material, which are the original films.
Well,
so,
I don't know
I'm
how
saying,
it's faithful.
and I've
it's
seen
just
I don't
another.
know.
It's just
another
a
iteration.
It's just
Yeah.
a continuation.
Like I watched the Everything Wrong with Thunderdome that CinemaSins recently did, and I mean I haven't seen the movie itself beyond watching that video, but I can't say that I would have liked that movie. Again, I know that's not fair to say because I haven't seen it, but I'm saying this is a type of movie series I probably would not care about, even if it had come out in the 80s and I was like a teenager then. I probably wouldn't have liked that either.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
I've seen like clips of the first movie, and it seems
same.
very quiet and slow, and it's a build up, but I didn't have any care for it, and then I don't think I've ever seen any of the second one.
And also,
the third one I did see, and I thought it was entertaining.
well, and also back then, like George Miller hit incredibly low budget for all three movies.
And also,
Yeah, it
he's
shows.
done, other than his Mad Max stuff, his other
from
work
the
is
director
actually
that
pretty
brought you Happy Feet.
Well, didn't he do like Neverending Story
Did he
and other
really?
stuff like that?
He did
Yeah, I think
he did both Happy Feet movies. Those were the previous two movies before he did. Like, see,
Awesome.
I should have like looked up what his other movies were, but I know he's done Babe, which is really weird.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's done Babe.
So he's been on opposite ends of the
He
spectrum.
has a very
That's
huge,
that
wide variety
variety.
of work. I want to say he did do Neverending Story, but I might be wrong.
I'm not certain, but I know he did Happy Feet,
Yeah.
and
I know he did Babe, and I think he might have did Babe too.
Again,
Babe
like-
is a classic, actually. And it's
Well, of
and you
course.
look at it, you're like,
Yeah.
how is that guy? The
But
one that does Mad
but you
Max
also
game?
have to. But if you're going to talk about Babe, you have to talk about the source material, which is clearly a very different world.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Well-
It's the same thing. Like that's what we said. If you look at Peter Jackson's filmography before he did Lord of the Rings,
Or you can watch Sesame Street or The Muppets.
so I think at the end of the day, I mean, again, I don't think there's anything Amber I could say to convince you that Mad Max was a good movie, but because all it really comes down to, because like I said, Mad Max, while it is a visual masterpiece in my opinion, just the production, like we mentioned earlier, we all agree on that.
It's beautifully shot. I mean,
yeah.
I don't see. I like when you look.
Right,
It's
I
like
agree.
a desert landscape, and you make something so plain
And
so
Yeah.
beautiful looking.
But
Yeah, I
if you're
agree.
looking for something a little more sophisticated, or I wouldn't say
not sophisticated.
no,
Not in
that's not
any
the
way.
word. That's not the word. If you want something that has, okay, let's say more substance. That's the word I'll go with. because
You like fire, and if you like,
no.
I
I'm saying against Mad Max. If you want something that has a little more substance to it, then Mad Max might not be the movie for you, because Mad Max is, I think, just is very much so a visual experience. You go along for the ride, a legitimate 2-hour car chase ride. And you just enjoy it. There's nothing to overanalyze or read into. It's just what it is. And that's why I made that point earlier to say it doesn't try to shy away or hide from what it is. It embraces what it is, and it doesn't get bogged down by anything else.
If Mad
But I
Max
don't wanna
had more
sympathize with the
characters that I
villain.
could have sympathized with, I would have enjoyed it more.
I feel like you should have sympathized with all those girls. With being
Exactly,
with that horrible,
yeah.
horrible man.
So, so either way, if you want to let us know what you guys thought about Mad Max, go to our Twitter accounts, Facebook, all that. We'll have it up on the screen for you. Please let us know what you think, even in the YouTube comments of the videos. Let us know what you thought of Mad Max, and so you can clearly see what
All
our
your
opinions-
hate, you can
argue with me.
right?
We hope you enjoyed our Mad Max Fury Road review. Make sure to subscribe to Movie.Cast for more awesome content, like our summer movie preview coming next week.